I think the distinction is really important for you guys in the lifestyle you're living and what you're doing, to really be able to compartmentalize nostalgia versus like home, you know. And they're different, and it's important. They're similar, but they're different. It's important to figure out why they're different, how they're different, and how to interpret feelings through that. You know,
the emotions of it.
But just like understanding with like your visit back, like differentiating between ties that hold you here and things that you cherish as something that's not happening anymore, you know, and being able to differentiate things that don't come back versus things you're coming back to. Right. Which I think is important emotionally to help you guys keep going on your journey and doing what you're doing and maintaining that level of understanding of like what I remember isn't what I'm returning to. It's the every that's part of the hard part. Everything's going to be different. You know, just us talking to you guys is different, and I'm sure all the other kids are in a similar place. And when you come back, you're not going to be coming back to the same kids. They're different kids every time you come back. Like,
and that's why we're so glad we've been able to keep in touch like every couple of weeks, because we don't feel out of the loop too much. But there is that anxiety of us coming back and feeling like we are coming back to a different family than we left.
But even in that, there's kind of a beauty to it. You know, it's like planting roses in the winter and then coming back in the spring and you see blossoms. You know? So you're seeing things grow without actually having to be present throughout. Totally. But you get to see the changes and appreciate the changes and celebrate the changes without having to be present through all of it, because you have your own changes you're going through. You know.
Hey guys, it's Tim and Kathy with Taste Life with Us, and we're following up on a video that we did a couple of videos ago, I guess?
Well, it was a few videos ago. It was about a little over a month ago, because now we have been home for a month. And we thought you'd want to know if all of our fears were realized or not from that video.
And to bring you up to speed, we were home and then we left again. We're on a cruise down to Mexico and back.
We are, where we had a very nice time today at lunch at the steakhouse, and the waiter made me this cute little rose out of a napkin.
Dang, guy has talent.
So, sit down with us and we'll give you the cold, hard truth. No. You know, it's so much easier to do from the cruise ship.
It is a lot easier to do after you step back a little bit from all the emotions of coming home. So in the video that we did, we kind of listed off some of our fears, and what we're going to do is kind of just go down in order and respond to those fears.
Except for the first thing. The thing we left almost for last time, which was family and how our kids reacted. We want to just get that out of the way right now, because it's the hardest thing to talk about. And I've been literally agonizing over it for...
So in the video last time, we talked about our fear of how being away from our family, our 5 kids, how that was going to go coming back.
So maybe just as a quick background, we do have 5 kids. Our oldest was living in California and literally moved a few days after we got home to Oklahoma. And so he's the one with the little 2-year-old cutie pie that you probably saw if you watched our video on being home. And then he's number 1.
He's number 1 son.
Second son lives in Washington State, which is our legal home. Has a new baby that we got to meet this time.
So we met little Clayton, and that was wonderful.
Son number 3 is Max. You met Max and Hannah on our video where we went wine tasting, and they were willing to talk on camera about all of this, and it was very helpful. And you just saw him again in the intro. So that was really great. And then our 4th child is our only daughter. And she has a 1-year-old baby, and they're also expecting a baby. And we actually stayed with them. They're the only ones we lived with while we were here, and we did stay there for about a week, 2 times.
2 different times.
And then
lastly is our youngest son. He is 22-ish.
yeah, and he's in a graduate school
In
for
New
a
York.
doctorate of pharmacy. 1.5 more years.
Woohoo!
Yeah, so we went back and saw him and met his girlfriend and her parents.
Yeah. So that's kind of a background on who we went around to see, and now let's talk about what were our fears and were they realized. Let's go that route.
Okay.
Of course, we love seeing our family. Hanging out with the grandkids was so awesome.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to hug our kids after 15 months and to just like rub those little grandbabies' heads with my cheek and kiss them is the best thing in the world. And
Absolutely.
it makes everything worth it, for sure. And to meet our new grandson. And just real fast, when our little 1-year-old granddaughter saw us, she woke up and we were there in the morning. And I walked up to to her high chair that she was sitting in, and she looked, and then you just saw her click on like, oh, it's Grandma. And then she looks and she's like, how did you get so big?
Because you have to realize all she's known us, I mean, we saw her when she was 2 days old, but all she knows us as is these 2 people in the phone.
Yeah, it helped that I was wearing the pajamas I always wear on the
true.
phone. But yeah, it was so funny. So, as we said in the Nomad Fears video, we did want our kids to be able to talk to us about their concerns about our life and be honest. And we were very afraid of getting blasted with it. And we did.
Yeah.
Not by everybody, but by in a couple situations.
Yeah, and you know what? It was a good thing to sit down and talk with your family. But are we going to answer that right off the bat, or is that number 8 in the lineup?
No, we're going to get this over with.
Okay, there we go.
We
So when you have your family and you travel, everybody's question is, well, how do they feel about it? And you kind of get 2 different answers, because kind of like what Max talked about in the intro, everybody changes with time. And so when you talk to your family on the phone, you get the response that they feel comfortable with on the phone.
And before you go, they're trying to be really supportive, and they don't know what it's going to be like, so they are very supportive. By the time you get back 15 months later, some are still really supportive, but it has affected them.
Right.
And they do want to talk about that. And others, maybe not as supportive anymore. But it's okay. You know, it was an emotional roller coaster, I'm not going to lie.
But it was still a good
and positive thing. But, you know, your heart as a parent is to never hurt your child, to never cause pain in any way to any of your kids. And so when you feel like you feel very desperate about that, and second guessing yourself about everything. And so it's very good to then get away and look at it with a rational mind instead of a broken heart, you know, and talk about it, and we are going to keep going on our life.
There you go. It's getting a hold of the emotions and looking at the emotions through a logical lens versus that emotional lens.
And the other thing is that being the ages from 22 to 30, they're all still going through some transitions in their life. Even though they have pretty stable, established lives and homes and careers, I think in my early 30s, I went through a lot of like looking back over my life, and you know, you start to go, okay, wait, I'm an adult now. Why do I think all this stuff? You know, like what was I taught? What do I really think? You know, all of those things. And it's helpful to have your parents there to talk to about it, but it's hard to talk about. And so some of the stuff was more about that than about our nomad life.
Right.
But it's the kind of thing that requires in-person discussions. And so you know, the things your kids maybe would have talked to you about here and there over the 15 months kind of get saved up. And then it's a lot, you know.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's a healthy thing. It's a hard thing, but a healthy thing.
Yeah, and so one of the things that they brought up was the fact that a lot of them feel now they have no home to go home to, which realistically they haven't had a home to go home to in about 2 years prior to that.
Since we sold some of those homes they lived in.
Yeah. But again, I don't think it was so much the physical property as it was the emotional safety net of that.
Yes. And I think like our one that's still in college, you know, when it's vacation time, Christmas vacation or what have you, he hadn't been coming home very often anyways because of the nightmare to travel in between during the holiday season. But choosing not to for that reason and not doing it because you just don't have a home, even though he could go to his brother's houses or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just not the same. And so I think it's a little harder maybe for him.
Well, and I think it's harder on him, but I think it's harder on all of them from the standpoint that when you're the one that chooses to leave, the people who are left behind are the ones that struggle because they feel like something has been taken away. Whereas when you choose to leave, you're the one who's excited and going and not really feeling that loss as much.
Now, a lot of people asked, you know, what about Christmas? How can you not be there for Christmas with your kids? So, if you heard us mention this before, a lot of times our family is not together on holidays because either they lived far away, they worked on Christmas because of the industry they're in.
They have in-laws.
Or they all have in-laws except one. And so, last Christmas, while we were on a cruise in New Zealand, they did all get together for Christmas, which was nice and strange
they
for
did
us.
Include us in a phone call.
Yeah, we did a phone call, and that was nice. So this Christmas, we really thought, wow, you know, we gave them 15 months notice, and we're coming home for Christmas, and everyone will be together. They did it last year; they can do it again. And no. In fact, we're now staying in a hotel. We decided because even our daughter's house, they're not going to be home either, which is a little weird feeling. So, which is all fine, and it's the way we've always done it.
Right. It's
just, no, we don't feel bad about not being home on holidays because that's just our family culture.
Yep.
You know. So, another thing that they did mention also was wanting to know our end game. And this was especially our two oldest boys. I think they're at very stable places in their life financially, and they're planners, you know, for the future.
And they feel a bit of family obligation. Yeah. And so from standing back and looking at it, they kind of want to know, all right, you're traveling X number of years or as long as you feel healthy. So what happens when something happens terribly in Vietnam and we have to go chase you down in Vietnam and bring you home? So, you know,
it made us feel good that they even
considered
it that way and care, but you know, we needed to reassure them a lot.
Yeah, and so I think, you know, looking forward for other nomads who are planning on traveling, you know, having kind of a loose plan set up about how are you going to scale back your travel as time goes on, realizing that yes, we are getting older, even though we have
a ways to go.
Yeah, of course we have a ways to go. You know, it's just the way it is. But it's the type of thing that, you know, your family needs to know that you have thought about it and you kind of have this good plan set up for them.
Both financially, but even more than that, I think what they were more concerned about was where will we be? Like how can they take care of us? Like they don't want to have to run off to somewhere far away.
Every time
what would we
something
do?
goes wrong.
And we didn't even know that mattered to them. So I think we were really glad that it all came up and we kind of talked about those things.
Yeah, I thought it was really neat that they had thought that far through. And I thought that was awesome.
Another thing is the confusion about the timing. And I think because so everyone says, how long are you going to do this? Well, like as long as we're healthy and we have money and we can, right? And we want to. If we're not having fun, we'll change our plan. You know, the whole thing is about freedom. But somehow that got lost in translation because, yeah, that doesn't mean we're not coming home until then.
Right. Yeah, we're not taking off for, the Amazon and just living with the indigenous tribes in the Amazon for the rest of our
So
life.
we die. Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
it's just, again, it comes back to kind of laying out that loose-knit plan.
in
And
a short-term sense.
in a short-term sense, having the long-term vision, the short-term sense of we're going to come back this so many months, years, or whatever.
And we did have a cruise booked back to the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
and we did give them the exact date we were coming back.
They just lost it in translation.
But somehow in their minds, you took off to travel forever and you're not coming home.
Right.
Which I think that for them, coming home doesn't mean to visit. I think what they really want to know
Right.
is, when are you coming home? When are you going to stay here?
Right.
Which isn't really in the plan unless we had to. So
Right.
that's a tough one.
It is, but these are good questions to talk through as you plan your nomad adventure with family members that are interested, your kids or other family members that feel responsibility in the matter.
And maybe talk to them before you launch about how long they think is okay till the first time you visit.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe we should have visited sooner this first year. Now, going forward, stay tuned till the end, because we're going to talk about how all these things affect our strategy of
Right.
travel going forward.
Wait, okay. We're going to interrupt this important message right now to tell you this. We need subscribers.
That's a fact.
So we are at 795 subscribers. We need a total of 1,000 subscribers. We need you to subscribe. So if you haven't subscribed yet, we got a lot of stuff coming up. Please subscribe. Now we're going to go back to our regular scheduled information. Moving forward now on to our other fears.
What I was going to say.
So one of the major fears that people always asked us, not so much people from the United States, but most of our European, Australian friends, is, are you afraid in the U.S.? And are we afraid going back to the U.S.?
Right. So, no. And we were cautious once. We were in downtown Seattle. We had to walk to the subway really early in the morning while it was dark and there was nobody around.
Yeah.
And we were a little worried because of the reputation of the subway station we were walking to, but yeah, it was fine. There literally was nobody around.
Well, and I think, too, having traveled for the last 15 months,
our spidey skills are better.
my spidey sense is tingling.
Yeah.
It just gives you a little bit more, I don't want to call it bravery or courage, but it gives you a better understanding of what
a risk really
Yeah.
is. And so, interestingly enough, we are on a cruise to Mexico right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to Mazatlan yesterday, which, so Mazatlan has a few issues, not terrible ones, but to the point where last time we were here, shortly before we launched our Nomad trip, they really want you to stick on this one line and only go in certain areas, and they had tons of police.
Yeah.
They did not want tourists off the blue line. This time was a lot more laid back, but also I think the last time we came, we had a lot more caution because of it, a little bit like trepidation of, is this a good, safe place to be or not? This time is literally actually probably more unstable here with the cartel and everything.
Right.
So it probably is more dangerous. Oh, we really weren't scared at all. We felt like
we were very much aware of our surroundings, but we were comfortable knowing our surroundings.
we realized that we feel a lot more comfortable in places, even if they're a place that you should be cautious in.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Well, really, you should be just cautious, period, in life.
Yeah.
But not afraid, right? Okay, so let's see. The next thing, what about the spin? Okay, we're going to combine a few things.
All right.
Spin, propaganda, cultural expectations, politics, what about all that stuff when it hits us in the face when we get here?
So when the ship landed in Long Beach was election day. Talk about politics all over the place.
Yeah.
People talking about politics
We're not
all
going
over
to
the
talk
ship.
about it here. We don't like to talk about politics.
And you
period.
know,
Ever.
the irony of it is we just ignored it.
Yeah. We realized that we actually have kind of a sense of detachment from the U.S.
Yeah.
You know, and only following on a headline basis and not getting bombarded with everything.
So
it's a good thing to be a little bit detached.
It is, and by detachment, we're not saying that we don't like the U.S. What we're saying
we
is
don't care.
We've just kind of stepped back and realized that probably 80% of the news and the hyperbole is just that.
Yeah, we just kind of ignore a lot of it.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because we saw tons of friends being back. We probably went out with friends more than we normally do in a year, maybe more than in 2 years. It was great seeing so many friends. But in all this socializing of friends and family and, you know, different people we came across, you realize that, boy, in the U.S., people talk politics and religion and things like that so much more than other places except possibly Australia.
Yeah,
but it was really different just to be around, and I think we've become very careful about conversations like that and trying not to get into anything. You know, we don't want to be in a divisive, opinionated conversation.
That's where that detachment comes from, because we kind of have this approach that says, you do you, let us do us, and we're good with that.
Which is a little harder when it's your friends, you know, but still, it's like, even whether we agree with them or not, we're just trying to avoid those types of conversations just because it's worked for us. Yeah, okay. The next thing, driving. Okay. I hadn't driven since we left the U.S., and so we had our son's car. We were borrowing his car in Washington, and I said, I want to drive one day and practice.
Okay, so let's back up. For the 30 years prior to that, I did all of the driving, unless I was not in the vehicle.
That's true, which of course was 90% of the time of my life, and I drove just fine.
She's a great driver. I, however...
Such a liar. You don't think that.
No, I totally think you're a great...
You do not think that.
I am a control freak. I swear there should be a brake in the passenger side of every car when I'm in it.
He cannot sit when someone else drives. So I drove from... I only drove a half an hour.
I'm going to get chewed out.
A half an hour.
It's
I grew up in the LA area. So I get on the freeway, weaving in and out with all the skills I have. And Tim's like, slow down, don't go over the speed limit, stay in the right lane. He literally made me drive like that for the whole half hour.
You are a grandma now. You need to drive like a grandma.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get hit.
So I had to drive one time for a half hour, but I am still highly competent and would have been fine driving over the speed limit, in and out of traffic.
She is highly skilled.
And Tim drove fine too, as expected. Okay, costs. Oh, holy cow. Have another drink.
Oy vey. This is one of those things that, that was a fear, is trying to stay in budget. The rationalization or realization, I guess is the correct phrase, of staying in our budget was, heck no, ain't gonna happen.
Even with staying for free at our daughter's house a couple times, borrowing a car from our son for 2 weeks, borrowing our daughter's car for the 2 weeks we were there, that saved a ton of money. And we stayed in hotels still everywhere except her house.
Not even drinking wine every night.
Oh no. Like, we were not buying and even depending on the kids, sometimes we were paying for very expensive dinners, especially the youngest. And some were treating us, some we were cooking at home, so it wasn't like in any way our normal life, really, I guess you could say. But our budget came out about double what our normal budget is, which, kills us.
And this is why, one of the reasons why we like to travel, because it is cheaper outside of the U.S. to live. Much cheaper. Yeah.
And a little bit of that was gifts, because you You do, well, and more gifts because Christmas when we get back again to see them. But, you see the needs in your family. And most of them don't have big needs that we can meet. Most of those are more like emotional needs that we also can't really meet.
Yeah.
But, like our youngest. So some of that was some gifts.
Yeah.
But those were important. But that wasn't the majority of it.
No.
And unfortunately, you see a lot of needs that you're like, I would love to meet that, but that is way, way beyond our budget.
And also with the kids living in so many different states, not even states totally near each other, the cost of traveling around the U.S. is none too cheap.
No. And buying new clothes because it was all cold.
Good Lord, It's freezing in the U.S. Y'all have snow here.
Oh, yeah. It was cold. We had to buy some warm clothes, which it was one of the best things about coming home, though, wearing some warm, cozy clothes and jeans.
No, I do not like snow.
And for like the first week or so, we loved it. And then we're like, how long till Mexico?
Yeah.
We're ready for 80 degrees again.
Okay. Next thing on the list was food cravings. So in that video, we talked about the fact that we were looking forward to having a lot of Mexican food because we missed that.
And I'm a craver. And we have enjoyed a ton of Mexican food.
We have.
Tons, especially the Mexican food down here.
It's really good, yeah.
But to a degree, even the things we cook that are old home favorites, not quite as good as we remembered. Or maybe I'm a worse cook than I remembered.
No, I think what it is that over time, we've moved away from that flavor palette to a new flavor palette. And our tastes have changed.
Yeah, that's true.
Not lying, I still love a great steak. But
I no longer like Carl's Jr. fried zucchini because now to me it tastes like chemicals. I could not even eat it.
Yeah.
And I used to like that.
Okay. Next thing.
We were afraid we wouldn't want to leave.
We're on a cruise to Mexico. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh, thank God we had this cruise. And yes, we want to leave again. There is no desire to come back to the U.S.
and live.
No.
Okay.
Now, our other flip side of that was we were afraid we wouldn't be able to leave because of someone's needs.
And that's still kind of there, but the logical sense of it says, it's not how it works.
Yeah, so our daughter's having a baby. We'll get to see the new baby in February. We make one last round around to see all the kids before we go to Europe. But she did express that, after the first baby that she had, that we saw when it was 2 days old, but just for a few hours, we weren't here, that she really wishes that we would have been here. And I think wishes we would be here for the second one.
Yeah.
Just to kind of, that's one of those, I need a home to go home to. I need parents that I just know are right there if I need help. And I get that emotionally, especially when you're pregnant. That's a comfort thing. But we literally were in the house. And so, the baby's crying in the middle of the night. I'm jumping up to go in there. Don't go in there, Mom. You're going to scare her. Okay, well, you guys go back to bed. Let me take the baby. No. She needs her mom. It's like, what would we actually be doing to help so much?
Yeah.
They have a really good support network, her husband's family, and I don't think it would make an actual practical difference. I think it would make an emotional difference. But the idea of us coming back, getting into new careers again, getting a new place to live, getting back to our whole old life, to kind of meet an emotional need, as hard as it is to not... to feel like as a parent you're turning away from your child when they're asking you for something and need something. She didn't flat out ask us, but it is a very expressed need. So, that feels really terrible as a parent. But as a parent who doesn't have any pregnancy hormones right now, you step back, you get away from the house, away from the situation, and you look at it and you go, well, this is not even a practical thing to consider.
She may not have pregnancy hormones, but there are other hormones floating around. Okay, next on the list.
The mama heart feelings. I IRS, always worthy of fear.
But we were blessed in that about 5 days before our schedule to check out the other video, you'll understand what's going on with the IRS. 5 days before our scheduled appointment with them, our tax refund showed up in our bank account, and so we didn't need to have the appointment.
We canceled it. Nice extra money, and really a huge relief, most of all, not to deal with the IRS about anything whatsoever, no matter how much you're in the right. It's just not good. Okay. Getting back into the mode of U.S. thinking and the rat race mentality, the temptation to stay and work and make some more money because now we're so behind budget, which is a fact.
I don't care. I say we move to Vietnam for an extra month or two.
We're not going back to Asia. It's too far away.
Let's find a cheaper place then. But no,
I'd
no
rather
desire.
live in a pretty bad accommodation in a city for a couple months and make it up.
No. Nope.
Nope.
Okay, that was easy.
Becoming our old selves, getting into our old patterns.
So here's the thing. When you find yourself put back into old situations, you tend to use old coping mechanisms and reactionary patterns. That's just kind of how the body works. That's how the psyche works. And we found ourselves kind of in those stressful patterns of trying to be parents again. Not that we never stopped, but the fact was we've been away from it.
Yeah.
And so that was hard.
And it brought up a ton of anxiety. I think some of the conversations brought up some depression. He's never depressed, and he got very depressed. So, not like clinically, but sad.
Mentally.
It was hard.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it caused problems between our marriage. It actually brought us closer in a sense because we had to talk all these hard things through and make some hard decisions and support each other. But I kind of look at it like a track meet. Okay, so let's say
she was a track star.
We were athletic, which you were, but I wasn't. But not in track. He was not track. And let's say we were decathletes, and we were pretty good at what we did, and we could compete in all these events at the same time and juggle all these things and do well, right? Because we juggled a lot as parents and professionals and spouses and friends and daughters.
Spouses?
Of each other.
Oh, okay.
And all of this, right? That was our normal life, and we were competent. Some may differ, but mostly we were competent. And now, after not doing those things for 15 months, except from a distance, kind of like a very low-key remote job, right? One job. And then all of a sudden we come back and it's like, hey, there's a track meet tomorrow. You ready? We're like, what? We haven't even been working out or training. What do you mean? And that's how it feels. It feels like all of a sudden now you're trying to do a bunch of stuff that you're not in shape for anymore, and you're doing terrible at it. So you feel like a failure all the time. You put the diaper on backwards.
She did.
Things like that.
I don't change diapers.
That you all of a sudden have to discuss all these things with your kids, and your parenting skills are a little rusty, and then you're trying to deal with it with each other, and you're like, we haven't had to face these kind of emotions for a long time, and not become divided over things with our kids and things like that. So you kind of feel like you got thrown into a decathlon, and you haven't even watched one, not worked out, not thought about it for a long time, and it's nerve-wracking
and exhausting. So what do you do?
So it's been an exhausting month in every way, socially, physically, mentally, emotionally. It's usually just us doing practically nothing, and now we're back to everything's going on at the same time.
So what did we do?
What did we do?
We went to Mexico.
We ran away. We ran away on a cruise. Yeah, thank God we had that schedule. So what does this mean going forward for our strategy?
Okay, so going forward, really we want to look at a few things. One is keeping an open line of communication with the kids, with the family members, kind of letting them know, what's our game plan.
Yeah, I think we need to be more intentional about what we tell them, which is hard because we don't have any plan over once we arrive in Barcelona in a couple months.
Yeah,
we have no plan
we
yet.
don't. But we'll figure that out and we'll let them know.
It's a bad year to try to be spontaneous.
The other thing that we thought probably would be better is, it's twofold. It's going to be better to try to swing back through the United States to see everybody.
If we can, afford it.
And secondly,
we actually offered this to some of them, and they were like, being here more often or longer is not going to be any better. Like, either just be here all the time or it doesn't really matter.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, but with that said, one of the other things we decided with that is when we do come back to the U.S. to save money, we can't travel 4 states multiple times to see all the kids. So we're going to try to set up more of a centralized, mom and dad are back in the country. If you want to see us, we're available.
Come to us. Or maybe we hit each coast.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But yeah, we still have a second loop to do in February. We have 3 weeks of going to see everyone again, and the costs are adding up like you cannot believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrifying, to be honest. We hadn't already bought one of the tickets, I don't know. So that's the strategy for that going forward. I think there were things we could have done better from the beginning, that we could have made things a little bit more clear and tangible to them on a long-term basis as well as a short-term basis, what our plan for the rest of our life is. I mean, we definitely have. We met with our financial advisor while we were here, and we did, we offered to have one of our sons be there because he was interested, and then it turned out he had to work, but we did kind of give them a report on the whole thing and reassure them that there was enough money to live out our life, and they don't have to take care of us. But
so far,
I mean, who can predict 25 years into the future? You know, you do these financial plans. Well, what age do you think you'll die? Let's just say 85. And if I'm not dead yet, I guess just kill me. I'm going to have no money. No, I mean, how do you even do this? So we do the best we can, but, life's unpredictable. The world's unpredictable. So they will learn this as they grow up, as we have already learned. So anyways, that's about how it is. We do want to let you guys know what we have coming up.
Okay.
We are doing a couple of videos for those of you who like to visit national parks, or you're traveling through Central California, you want to elevate your experience with a big treat. We're going to give you some ideas from an area where we lived near the Sequoia National Park. The other thing is, lots of people ask, what's your favorite place? What's your favorite experience? What's your favorite? So we're going to do a whole week of favorites.
Yes.
But that's not going to be for a little while because we are going to be cruising. So
yes, one of our favorites.
Yeah, that is our favorite. So 2 things. 1, subscribe to this channel because it's going to be a little while, so YouTube might not tell you when we're back. So be sure you subscribe so that you know when these videos come out. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram for the same reason. And we are so close to 1,000. We need 1,000 subscribers. We are 200 short.
So the whole thing with 1,000 subscribers is once you reach 1,000, then you can become what they call monetized in YouTube Talk, which is a fancy way of saying you can make some pocket change.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a lot, but it's motivating. And right now, nothing to motivate.
We're 200 subscribers away.
Yeah.
So if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. If you have friends that have never seen us but do have a YouTube channel and they don't care when you're there, sneak on their YouTube channel, subscribe us.
We do that in Airbnb sometimes. Okay, so the other thing is, or if you want to monetize us now, you can buy us a coffee.
Yes.
Okay, but the other thing is, do go over to Chris Retirement and subscribe there, because mostly what will be coming out for a little while is probably going to be over there.
Cruises, yeah.
So, yeah, we really badly need subscribers over there.
Yeah.
We need like 600.
Yeah.
So tell everybody you know.
People you don't know, you just, tell them. Yeah, you don't know them, just meet them on the street.
Anyone who likes to cruise.
Okay.
Okay, anyways, we love you guys, and we hope that this helps a little bit as you either prepare for a nomad life or you live your nomad life and you're going to go home. Maybe our experience can help you smooth the way a little bit in some ways. Yeah, so it's great to see your family and your grandkids, and it's priceless to hug those little ones, kiss their little heads. But yeah,
it's an experience. Hey,
it is.
Thanks for tasting life with us. Now get out there and taste life for yourself.